Not knowing how to break the ice or have a meaningful conversation? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how you can improve your communication and be more impactful and effective. If you don't know who I am already, my name is Michael Tabaradi, high performance coach and mentor, and I help self-starters and ambitious professional millennials increase their productivity, enhance their performance, realize their priorities, and live their life on purpose. Now, if this is the first time you've come to my YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And as always, the links are in the description below. Now let's get to the video. Now, as a coach, friend, mentor, etc., I have helped many individuals from various socioeconomic backgrounds improve and increase their communication skills. Now, working for one of the biggest employers within the world and in Europe, the NHS, I've worked with a vast array of different people. And so communication is really important, even more so in a situation where we've been in a pandemic. And so in today's video, I'm going to talk about some key steps in order for you to improve your communication. Now, the first one, and I say this all the time, is to be clear on your values. And why do I say this? If you understand where you've come from, then you know where you're going. And so you understand what is important to you. And so a lot of what you say is grounded in those specific things, your values. Because it's important to you from a psychological and mindset point of view, it shapes what you say. And so what you think is what happens. As a man thinketh, so is he, as it states in the Bible. And so with that in mind, having clarity in terms of what your values are is crucial. This may come down to integrity, it may be honesty, it may be ambition, etc. But looking back at your life experiences will give you a clear idea of what that looks like. You'll see what sort of theme I'm coming to, but it's very important that you have an idea of what your values are, or at least the principles that you're working towards in order to become the person you're looking to be. Because people are attracted by people who are confident in their nature, and usually those individuals who have a sense of their values are more resilient. So think about and really outline what your values are. And if you want to learn about how you can do that, make sure to check out this video. The second thing is linked to this, so be clear of what your story is. I always say this to my friends. We are writing our story every single day. So whether good or bad, thinking makes it so. So with that in mind, be clear about what your story is. If you go to my website, there is a long form of my about page that really highlights my story, so to speak, from my eyes, from my lens. And so if you're clear about that, okay, regardless of whether it is the right way of thinking or not, it is a narrative that creates conversation. It is a narrative that highlights challenges and barriers. It highlights successes. People love a story. And so if you can connect with that, then you're in good stead. And in this day and age, a personal brand is really important. And so when it comes to personal branding, whether it's from a business perspective or a career perspective, your story is the thing that stands out. Your story is the thing that gives you that USP, unique selling point. So be clear and devise a good and honest story that you can connect with and express as well. The third thing is to improve your self-awareness. Now, there are different ways in which you can improve your self-awareness, and I spoke about this in my emotional intelligence video, so you can check it out here. But really and truly, this comes down to meditative practices, making sure that you're present, having the right sort of accountability people around you, whether that is an accountability buddy, a coach, so you're looking at one, a mentor, or whoever it may be, in order for you to improve the quality of your thinking through deep listening and effective and powerful questions. And so self-awareness is at the heart of any form of change and any form of improving your communication, because you can see how you communicate better and you can see how others communicate. When you look at other people and you people watch, which I advocate for, you can see what they do rather than what they say. And so it gives you a better steer in terms of what to say going forward in the future, because it elicits a certain type of response. And so think about how you can improve your self-awareness with some of those techniques that I spoke about. Now, I jumped the gun here with the fourth step, but people watch. Focus on what people say rather than what they do. And I say this because, as many of you know already, 70 to 90% of all communication is based on non-verbal cues. Okay, so vibe, the different sort of like tonation, how things are said, different sort of movements physiologically. It's not necessarily through what people are saying. And so once you become a master of those different cues and triggers and everything else, you're at a position of being a better communicator and therefore a better negotiator and a better influencer as well. And so watch what people say rather than what they do in order for you to communicate better. The fifth thing is to become a great coach. I'm telling you, coaching is not just for professionals, but it's for individuals who want to be better, because you're utilizing skills that enable people to communicate with you. So I've mentioned these before. This comes down to effective and powerful questions. It comes down to deep and active listening. It comes down to inner supervision, so understanding how you respond as an individual, so that emotional intelligence, and how other people do that too. It comes down to being a great encourager, a great motivator, someone who is also inspiring individuals. So these are all qualities of a great coach. So if you have that as an individual, that's great. If you don't, you can work on these skills. It starts with practice. Practice listening to people. Practice asking questions, because people will naturally be like, this person is great to talk to, and you've said nothing. So communication at times comes down to how well you understand and empathize with other individuals. So become a great coach. And just to add to that, a coach isn't a therapist, so to speak. There's always going to be some actions that come up from the coaching conversation. So whether this is, within a work capacity or friendship, see if you can help that individual come to some sort of solutions or actions to help them in their journey, if that conversation is based around that specific type of content. Now, before we continue, comment below and let me know what has stopped you from being a great communicator in the past. Anyway, let's get back to the video. The next thing to keep in mind is to educate, entertain, and empower. Now, this comes down to the art of public speaking, really and truly. If you educate, this really comes down from a point of providing statistics or facts or whatever it may be. People love interesting facts. People love to learn new things. So if you're an educator by heart or an expert by heart, then show that off a little bit. Let people know what you know in order to share that information. Entertainment comes down to how funny you are, maybe, as an individual, or can you do interesting things? People love to relate to other people. People connect with other people they see as familiar. And so entertainment is a really big factor in this. And this is why the entertainment industry does so well. Empowerment is also important because it gets to a point where you can actually unearth something that individual maybe necessarily didn't realize they had before. Maybe they've been in a situation where they felt down and they needed someone else to give them a boost. And so if you can educate, entertain, and empower, you're doing better than most, especially if you have that level of self-awareness that these things can improve your public speaking or communication skills. The seventh thing is to make sure that you know your stuff. Now, this is slightly related to the last thing, but this is all to say that if you understand your stuff, then again, there's that attractive power that you have. Those individuals that really know their market, those individuals that really know their niche, those individuals that really know their industry are seen as special because they know things that the common person does not know. You have to appear uncommon, so to speak. And so with that, it's important to be well read. If you don't really understand different parts of your industry or niche, make sure you read up on it. Make sure you watch the videos on it. Make sure you listen to the Clubhouse sessions or the podcast sessions on it. Just make sure you are part of that 1% as best as possible in terms of knowing your stuff when it comes to your industry or whatever it may be. The eighth thing is to be interesting in such a way where you can create content that expresses who you are as an individual. Now, I've been making content for a very, very long time. And so a lot of my content is about empowering people or educating people. And so people have an idea, correct or not correct, around who I am and what I'm like as an individual. Now, they'll never know the full story unless they know me pretty well. However, they know I want to position them for success. They know I want them to understand that they're more than their situation. That says something about me and my nature, my character as an individual. And so if you provide content that relates to educate, entertain, and empower within your niche, then again, people can get an idea of what you're about, or at least a part of what you're about, because people want to connect and learn with individuals in order for them to develop those relationships, or at least feel like you're part of their tribe. And so be in a position where you can create content that expresses who you are and what you're about and what you want to tell the world about as best as possible. The 10th thing is to make sure that you practice. And what does this mean? Now, I'm not saying you need to practice how to say hello and goodbye, but what I am saying is that you should practice presentations. Even if you're not giving a presentation. Why do I say this? When I started practicing presentations for different talks or even for YouTube videos or whatever it may be, I realized that my communication improved because I had a certain level of self-awareness in terms of different ums and and everything else that I say. Now, I know there are still things that I still continue to say, such as understand, reach, expand. My friends make fun of me all the time, or the point being made here. I know I say a lot of this stuff. However, I know there are other things that I don't really say anymore because I've been able to monitor those different things so that my expression and my communication is improved. Now, if you sit in front of a camera and you are giving a presentation of some sort and you watch it back, you can see how good or bad you are. You can see where you need to improve. This is not about good or bad. This is just about improvement. And so think about a structure that works for you. And maybe the fact that you give some sort of teaser at the beginning. This is for a presentation, by the way. It may be the fact that you give a little bit of an introduction or context. Then you get into the meat of the content. Maybe there are 1, 2, 3, or 4 things that you need to talk about. And then at the end you summarize. How concise is your message? How accurately are you delivering the information that you want the other individual to hear? Because this is not just good for presentations. This comes down to how you communicate in general with other people. So practice as much as possible. I may do a video on presentation style at some point. So if you're interested in that, let me know. But hopefully that has given you some insights in terms of how you can improve your communication. Now, as always, if you want to improve your communication skills, click on the link below for a breakthrough session where we can talk about how you can improve your communication and your leadership skills as well. Now, the ultimate way to improve your communication, I think at least anyway, is to have coach-like tendencies. So if you want to learn how you can be a better coach, then make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. And as always, take care, God bless, and understand, reach, expand. Peace.